admit that this is Donald Trump's doing, and only Donald Trump could have done this. They are forced to look back and say, why didn't Biden do this? No one, they cannot get over the fact that Donald Trump has made this happen. I really appreciate everybody being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. But we are going to dive in. We've got the Fox News report on this, and we're going to dive into that and an interview with President Trump on the Hannity show, where he actually talks about all this. Bob, let me know. Were you able to see the original, the opening clip? Because it looks like it took EV Mux a while to get everything connected. So let's dive back in. We're gonna open this opening clip, and then we're gonna run. So this is Trump 3 days ago announcing the possibility of peace in Gaza. Check this out.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together: Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, you know the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So I just want to let you know that this is a very special day, maybe unprecedented in many ways. It is unprecedented, but thank you all, and thank you all to those great countries that helped. We were given a tremendous amount of help. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East, and we're very close to achieving that. Thank you all, and everybody will be treated fairly.
Fantastic news by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, the only one I believe that could actually make this happen. Donald Trump, because of his persona, because of his peace through strength, because of his America First agenda and ideology, and the fact that he was willing over the last 6 to 8 months to completely reorganize trade in the world, to completely begin shifting world economics away from the old post-World War II liberal order that basically allowed everybody to take advantage of the United States. Donald Trump, through all of that, through completely committing to rebuild the U.S. military with $1 trillion a year in defense spending, by getting NATO to agree to 5% of their GDP in defense spending, has reorganized world military capabilities. Donald Trump has reorganized trade on the global scale, and that has allowed him to use tariffs and other economic pressures that didn't exist in previous administrations. And it has allowed Donald Trump to do what no other president either could have done or wanted to do. And this is apparent as the left-wing media is apoplectic. They have to give Donald Trump credit, and you can tell that they hate it. But before we dive into that, let's dive into the actual announcement that happened. There's been several, but Fox News had this, and then they had an interview with President Trump, which I think is extremely eye-opening. So before we dive in, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know you're here in the comments. I really appreciate everybody being here, and we really appreciate you supporting the channel. Here we go.
Yeah, Sean, good evening. It's a historic moment in the Middle East. President Trump announcing that both Israel and Hamas have signed on to the first phase of his 20-point peace plan to end the war inside Gaza. This means that 20 living hostages will be freed from Hamas captivity. They'll be exchanged for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, and Israeli forces will have to withdraw from certain lines inside Gaza. They will still stay within the enclave, but they will pull back a bit. All of this came together Just a few hours ago, President Trump sending his Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner to Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. They were joined by Turkish officials and Qatari officials to try to hammer out the final pieces of this agreement and bring it across the finish line. Then President Trump got that information from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, ultimately making the announcement on Truth Social that a deal was reached for the first phase of his agreement. This is going to alleviate suffering for Palestinian civilians. It is going to reunite the hostages with their loved ones, and it's going to enter into a chapter where the Middle East can work to formally end the war inside Gaza, bring that conflict to an end, and ultimately open up the door for more peace agreements between Israel and its Arab neighbors. I can tell you I've covered this story for more than 7 years, Sean. This is the first time that I can remember where Israelis and Palestinians were celebrating the same thing. Sean?
That shows history in the making. Trey Yangst in Israel tonight. Thank you. All right, joining us now live on the phone is the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, wow. If you would have asked me 2 years ago yesterday if this was possible, I would have bet everything I had no. Congratulations, sir. Can you give us more of the details?
Well, thank you very much, Sean. It's a great honor to be involved in it. We had some tremendous help, as you know, with everybody from Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Marco, and we had everybody. JD, the whole group was just amazing, and the military was, as you know, very instrumental in getting this done. We have a great military with great leadership. The whole world came together, to be honest. So many countries that you wouldn't have even thought of it. They came together. The world has come together around this deal, and that's something I would say that without that wouldn't happen. So many countries that you wouldn't have thought of have wired their best wishes and their commitment to do whatever is necessary. The countries surrounding have all signed. I mean, they're all signed up, and it's been really an amazing period of time, and so great for Israel, so great for Muslims, for the Arab countries, and so great for this country, for the United States of America, and that we could be involved in, making a deal like this happen, because it was, many years they talked about peace in the Middle East. This is more than Gaza. This is peace in the Middle East, and it's an incredible thing.
Mr. President, you are expending a lot of effort.
Now, he's absolutely correct, because Trump did something that no other president, whether they thought of it or not, was able to pull off. And that is, remember going back months when Trump was first in office. I think he was in office for 2.5 months. I think it was the April-May timeframe. Trump took off on a tour of the Gulf states. He went to Dubai, he went to Qatar, he went to Bahrain, he went to other places. Now, he was met with a king's welcome, but he literally got on a plane and went there and did something that other presidents have not done. And he didn't. And in those talks, he talked about economic alliances. He brought in investment into the United States. He shored up economic alliances between those countries. During that time, remember, I believe he was in Qatar at the time, he said he was willing to formally recognize the new leader of Syria, which was a stretch given his terrorist background. But they had the new leader of Syria had formally sworn off the terrorist leanings. Trump said he was willing to talk to him, would be willing to recognize him. Trump was over there building the foundation for what is now a Gaza peace deal and ultimately a Middle East peace deal. Because the only reason that Hamas is at the table, the only reason Hamas even agreed to this phase one was because of the pressure applied by the 7 other Gulf states, specifically Qatar, who was their major funder. If Qatar says you're going to do this, you're going to do it, or they're going to cut off the funding. That, coupled with the fact that the U.S., that President Trump was willing to put Iran in its place, destroy its nuclear capability, and essentially remove it from as a pawn from the board. So him freezing assets and doing other things economically means that Iran cannot be the primary funder of Hamas. It now has to fall to Qatar. And if Qatar is in on the peace deal, because Qatar wants to see a place for Palestinians, then Hamas is in a box. Trump effectively did that, which was an amazing piece of geopolitics. Fantastic. Here we go.
Worldwide to bring about peace. How did this become one of your top agenda items, considering this has gone on for decades and decades? A lot of the Arab nations that have formed coalitions with you were reluctant and resistant for decades to ever be a part of the solution. That was a big part of what happened here today. Can you explain that part of it?
Well, I develop relationships with people, and sometimes those relationships lead to great things. And in the case of many of the Arab nations, the wealthiest nations in the world, if you look, although with what we've done in the United States, I think we top everybody by a lot with the tariffs and all of that. But, you know, having the ability to deal with trade, having the ability to use tariffs to help me make a point. The tariffs have brought peace to the world. I'm telling you, they brought peace to the world. And not only here, but with so many other deals. You know, I've made 7 peace deals where countries were.
He's absolutely right. The threat of the stick, the tariff stick, essentially Trump being able to walk into places like Qatar or Dubai or other places and go, hey, I want you to get on with this. I want you to get on board with this. First, he built the relationship. There's a level of personal interactions, a level of personal trust. There's a level of personal likability. Hence why he got on a plane and flew to the Gulf 2 months after his inauguration, was to start to build these relationships. Then he can use that interpersonal, that likability, that personal affection and say, and oh, by the way, I want you to get on board with this. If not, we're going to use tariffs and we're going to essentially lock you out of the US consumer market. And now you've got the carrot and the stick. You've got both. And you've got Trump being able to maneuver these Gulf states and make it look like it was their own decision into this peace deal. This is absolutely amazing. And Trump is the only one that could have done this. And now the liberal propaganda, globalist media is forced to capitulate on that fact. This is absolutely beautiful. I've got 3 clips you're absolutely going to love of the media having to knuckle under and say this was Trump. Let's start with the life losers at CNN. Here we go. Check this out. This is absolutely amazing stuff. Before we do that, please, if you're here watching, please join us in the comments. Let us know you're here. Would love to know where you're from, and also that you're watching. Also, please smash that like button for me. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And also subscribe if you haven't. Here we go.
That this was not doable when President Biden was in office.
I think the biggest problem that the President Biden had is there was no pressure from Qatar, from Turkey, from Egypt. They were actually facilitating in many ways what was going on. And that is really ultimately how it all came together.
So, I mean, but I think by saying that, it's sort of an acknowledgement. Trump has changed that dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think
absolutely.
that.
I mean, he's clearly.
I don't know how he,
changed
and I think there's a lot that remains to learn about what prompted that change. But I do agree, yes, somehow, some way that changed.
That this was
somehow, some way. Yeah, because Trump is an alpha male, because Trump was willing to put America first, because Trump was willing to institute tariffs and essentially say, you all are done ripping us off. You will now pay to enter the US market. And then using those tariffs as a cudgel to anybody who didn't want to do what Trump asked him to do. Trump was asking people to do something that was ultimately in their own best interest. But in order to get them over the hump, he could go and say, hey, you know what? If you don't want to do this, that's fine. No U.S. consumer market for you. We'll just tariff you to 100%. Try to sell your stuff in America now. And people go, okay, well, wait a minute. Let's rethink this. Trump was able to get those 7 Muslim Gulf states, and they're not just Gulf, but the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, he's able to get them all on board and in a likable way, not just strong arm them. It was both personal interaction. He went there, he visited them, he talked to them, he built relationships, but then also having the stick of the tariffs to be able to align them, to get them to do what was ultimately in their and the Palestinians' best interest, all in the long run. And Trump was able to do this. No other president once. Biden didn't even come close. Why? Because the Gulf states, the Arab states, they didn't respect Biden. They thought he was a fool and a clown. And that's why they were never going to get on board with anything that Biden did. Now, we've got PMS NBC or BS Now, whatever you want to call it. They're saying essentially the same thing. Check this out. And it's on Scarborough's show, which just makes it because Scarborough is the ultimate TDS loser. It just makes it all the more glorious that Scarborough has to admit this on his own show. Check this out.
The deal that President Trump is announcing played a key part in negotiating is a significant change. This war was blocked for 2 years. President Biden, who preceded him, was unable to find a way to stop it. President Trump found that way by being tough on both sides. And he'll take a victory lap for sure over the next few days, but it's deserved. There's no way that I can see that this would have been done without Trump's pressure in the final hours.
No way that this gets done without Trump in the final hours. And there's Brzezinski and Scarborough forced to sit there on their own show and listen to this. This is absolute gold. This is going to age extremely well. Now let's check out one more of this one, again, I believe on PMSNBC, a different show, but check this out.
One of the things about honesty and citizenship and a sense of, I would say, maturity about what people in a democracy should do is, even if someone with whom you disagree about 99 things does the 100 really well, you should say so, because that's what intellectual honesty is. And so all credit to President Trump and his, as you say, unconventional team. But if he takes an unconventional team, that's fine, right? I remember once asking the senior President Bush after something terrible had happened. It's a sign of something that I can't remember what it was after he'd been president. Something had happened in the Middle East. And I said, this is a man who spent decades dealing with this. I said, Mr. President, do you think this ever gets resolved? And he said, God, I don't know. That's what one of the most experienced diplomatic presidents in American history thought, is that it was an unknowable thing.
So what President Elder Bush was unable to do, what George Bush, certainly W, was not able to do. I mean, obviously everything that went on with the Iraq war and all that nonsense, what Obama was unable to do, what Biden was unable to do. Trump is the only one who could pull this off, because Trump is the only one who fully embraced MAGA, America First, tariffs, the entire paradigm shift that he has instituted in the world since his inauguration is what opened the door to this. It gave him the interpersonal relationships with the Muslim countries in the Gulf, but also gave him the tariff stick to wield to essentially herd them into line. This is absolutely phenomenal by Trump. And not only are they celebrating here in Tel Aviv, but we've also got celebrations by Palestinians who are whelping. They are ecstatic over this. Check this out.
هذه الخطة نأمل من الله أن تكون ناجحة وهي سلمة، ونحن الشعب الفلسطيني موافقين عليها ونبصم بأعيننا وأرجلنا وأقدامنا إنه هذه الخطة ناجحة، فنحن نأمل من الله أن تصير صحيح. إحنا من الشمال لن نجد الماء ولن نجد الطعام، نحن جوعى مطردون من أرض فلان إلى أرض فلان، ونحن نرجو من الدول المانحة أن تنفي هذه الحركة عن وجه الأرض، لأنها حركة ظالمة. كثرة الأطفال هذه، أنا أتوجه وأقول إنهم كثرة الأطفال يدعون الديانة ولست لهم ربا للديانة. الذي يدعو القرآن دين حنيف، ولست يقتل الأطفال ولا النساء ولا يجوع. هذه حركة فاسدة من يوم من وجدنا على الأرض وهي فاسدة. أطراف حماس تتخش في أعماق بلادنا، ونحن نرجو في محي هذه الحركة نهائيا، لأن هذه حركة إرهابية لست إسلامية.
حماس تنتهي.
They don't want Hamas. They want Hamas out of there. Real Palestinians, real Arabs don't want Hamas. They don't want terrorism. Now, we can dive into a whole theological discussion on Islam. That's a whole different story. But you're talking regular people. They don't want Hamas. And this is an opportunity for them to now live in a country, to live in a place potentially without Hamas lording it over them. Because part of this peace deal is that Hamas does not get power again. This is now going to be administered. It's going to be a pseudo-Palestinian, para-Palestinian state in Gaza. It's going to get rebuilt, but it's going to get rebuilt under the auspices of an international authority headed by Donald Trump and Tony Blair, who I'm not that thrilled about, but certainly Trump at the head of this thing, funded by the Muslim Gulf states. This could work out absolutely phenomenally. Now, I want you to get this out from Steve Bannon, because I think Steve Bannon hits the nail on the head in just how important and epic this is. He calls it Trump's Nixon moment, and it could even be bigger than that. Check this out.
And this falls directly on the shoulders of Lindsey Graham and Tel Aviv Levin and this crowd of Israel First. They brought this on because their promotion of Netanyahu and blind loyalty to Netanyahu and not what was best for Israel. Because you have a situation now, correct me if I'm wrong, you call it what you want, but this, and by the way, Hamas has to go through. Remember, they're the franchisee of the Muslim Brotherhood. They always they have a tendency to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory all the time. Very tough to control. Although presidents united, at least the Gulf Emirates and the Arabs, more than Lawrence of Arabia in this matter, and also the attack of Netanyahu on Qatar. And Qatar, I think, are terrible guys, right? They're the financiers of the Muslim Brotherhood. But what you have is Gaza is a proto-Palestinian state. You're going to have the Gulf Emirates, led by Qatar, finance this. No Palestinians are leaving. I think the way it reads, you're going to have an Arab security force, right? And obviously Hamas lays down their arms and all that, gives up their military operation. But you have you're going to have a proto-Palestinian state in Gaza, in the territory of Israel, number one. Number two, unlike the Israel First crowd was bragging the other day about Judea Samaria, it absolutely forbids any Israel takeover or intrusion with the settlers in Judea Samaria. So that's off the table. And they're talking about adding the Persians or the Iranians to the Abraham Accords. So the greater Israel project crashes and burns. Why? Because of the American sponsors of Netanyahu. And I told you this was going to happen, and now it's happened, okay? And they can spin it any way they want to spin it, and they can try to kill it any way they kill it. President Trump's not going to let this be killed. This was a masterstroke, a masterstroke. I've never seen anything. This is one of the most impressive turn of events I've ever seen from any president of the United States. It's incredible. This I almost put in the same level of Nixon and China. Not quite, but and of course President Trump's got a couple of things he's working.
I put it beyond Nixon, China personally. I think this could be bigger, but we'll wait and see. But he's absolutely right. This is a master stroke by Trump, and only Trump could have done it. This is amazing stuff. We are staring down the barrel now, which is a bad analogy because it's the opposite. We are staring down the potential and currently the machinations in movement for total Mideast peace, for Abraham Accords that include all of the Middle East countries, for the formal recognition of Israel's right to exist by everyone involved except for the terrorist groups, which are being defunded, deplatformed, and basically deconstructed. So we could be looking within the next year of a proto-Palestinian state in Gaza, fully funded and secured by Arab money from the Gulf, headed by Donald Trump and Tony Blair, with an international administration, international board that runs the thing. You could have the formal recognition of Israel. You could have everybody on board with Abraham Accords. This could be the biggest change in Middle East dynamics in decades. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is absolutely a masterstroke by Trump. I'm so excited to be able to report on it. Let us know what you're thinking. Really appreciate everybody being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share Courageous Media. We're going to get into our second story, which is now domestic. We're going to dive back into domestic politics because we've got big changes. We got big stuff going on in New Jersey. I want to dive out. Let's check this out. We play a little clip here between Chitterelli and Cheryl, but we're going to dive into what's happening in New Jersey in the gubernatorial race. Again, before we do, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's dive into this.
It doesn't matter because I'm going to make sure that he doesn't get to serve again when I win for governor in November of this year.
There's another big difference between her public service and my public service. It actually cost me money the time I put in and took away from my company. In the 7 years that she's been in Congress, she's tripled her net worth. There's another big difference between the two of us, okay? She broke the law. She had to pay fines for violating federal law on stock trades and stock reporting, and the New York Times reports that while you're sitting on the House Armed Services Committee, you were trading defense stocks.
Wow. So you've got, this was the debate, part of the debate between Chitterelli and Cheryl. We're going to go into other clips from this debate, but this was absolute bombshell stuff. This was Chitterelli putting her right in the crosshairs of public opinion that says, yeah, remember all the corruption that's out there that people are sick of, the insider trading that people are sick of? Not only did she have to pay fines, not only did she triple her net worth illegally, but now we know that she's also sitting on the Armed Services Committee trading defense stocks, knowing exactly what they're voting for. This is the ultimate in insider trading. This is what basically every or 90% of Congress, of senators and representatives need to get investigated for and prosecuted. This is absolutely amazing. And this is what people don't want. Now, as we dive into this, we've got a lot of polls out there that say this is right within striking distance, that this could actually happen. You've got Chitterelli and Cheryl in a 43-43 dead heat. Now, when you look at other places like Real Clear Politics, the average of all of the polls out there, which we know that most of them are extremely left-leaning, you're still getting Cheryl up between 2 and 4 points. So this is one poll that shows it at a dead heat. You've got 3 others that show it in a statistical dead heat. But still, the fact that they are this close on the New Jersey governor means it's within striking distance. And this is the time to act. If we can flip New Jersey, if we can start to poke holes in the Northeast blue curtain, the blue wall that was never going anywhere, we could start to seriously affect U.S. politics downstream. Now, I want to dive back into some more clips from the debate. But first, let's jump in with Benny Johnson, who is going to be with Chitterelli in I believe on the 10th, tomorrow, for a rally, as he's talking about this same governor's race. Here we go.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And Jack can win. He's a great guy, as you know. He's a common sense. The reason I won, I believe the reason the President Trump won, but certainly the reason I won, and I think the reason Jack can win is common sense. Common sense. Listen, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, you don't want 4,000 Pennsylvanians dying last year from fentanyl because of wide open borders. You don't want 20% inflation, which is killing. I had somebody in my office today who's on Social Security. She's still dealing with the horrible challenge. If you're on fixed income and prices are up 20%, right? They don't want disorder on the city streets. You walk through Philadelphia these days, and we was just in Kensington last week.
Goodness.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And Trump ran on common sense policies to fix those problems, and he's delivering on those. And so you can, in places like Pennsylvania, man, they just want people going to solve problems. And they look at President Trump and say, holy cow, there's a guy who actually made promises and is delivering on them. And that's, I think, the mantra for winning here. I can't speak for other states, but we just want to solve problems. We want to work with anybody we need to solve the problems. And the president is leading the charge on that. And, I'm proud to support those.
So absolutely, Chitterelli can win. That's what we're talking about here. Now, I want to check out a couple more clips from this debate because Chitterelli absolutely cooks Cheryl in several different cases. He sets up the distinction between himself and this aged, this ridiculous, globalist, corruptocrat, elitist establishment politician. Check this out.
Since the time that the Congresswoman is declared for governor, she's missed 90% of the votes in Washington.
But a few Fridays ago, she skipped out of two very important joint appearances in New Jersey to get to Washington, D.C. to vote yes on the Charlie Kirk resolution celebrating his life. I applaud her yes on that vote. When she came back to New Jersey and caught hell from the left, she issued a statement condemning Charlie Kirk, calling him a misogynist and a racist. The two things are inconsistent to me. The way to tamp down the hateful rhetoric is by having the right kind of leadership in place. I've always conducted myself in a respectful way, even when I disagree with people. I'm never going to tarnish the name my parents gave me, and I'm never going to embarrass my 4 children. I've always been respectful with my rhetoric, and I think that that's more important than ever.
So you got Cheryl out there running down Charlie Kirk while she runs back to post a vote for the Charlie Kirk resolution. So she can say, I voted for the Charlie Kirk resolution. Then she comes back to Jersey and basically trashes him. This is your typical Democrat politician. This is exactly who they are. It's all show. It's all hat, no cattle. They'll do everything for the photo op, but when it comes to actual policy, when it comes to actual belief, they are on the wrong side of every issue. Speaking about being on the wrong side of every issue, let's talk about schools and school choice in New Jersey. This is a major issue for poor neighborhoods, for minority communities, especially for Black Americans. Check out Chitterelli on his education proposal, and then we're going to dive into just how radical Cheryl is. Check this out.
I, too, am very, very concerned about the public education system. We've got school districts where 80% of the kids are not on grade level for reading, writing, and math. Who has school choice? People with money. People with money can send their kids to private school. People without money do not have school choice. So if their school system is failing, I will provide them choice. My opponent will not. Voucher system like we've seen in Arizona, Ohio, and Florida. Charter schools, they've been very successful here in New Jersey, but only one has been approved in 8 years' time. We need to provide educational choice where districts are failing, and we need to employ a high-impact curriculum like we've seen in places like Louisiana and Mississippi. A high-impact curriculum, if your child is behind grade level in reading, writing, math, they'll spend the entire next marking period doing nothing other than reading, writing, and math.
100% school voucher programs, school choice. Time to dismantle the education monopoly, liberal education complex, the socialist education indoctrination program that is funded by U.S. taxpayer money, both federal and state, throughout the United States. It's time to start dismantling that with vouchers. Vouchers everywhere. You can send your kid to whatever school you want. Let the schools compete for your business. That is exactly what needs to happen. Cheryl is never going to do that. She's never going to allow school choice. She is beholden to the teachers' unions 100%. But even worse than that, check out her position on schools and LGBTQ and other issues. It's the school vouchers, it's her corruption, her insider trading, and her focus on this that I think could cost her the election. Check this out.
Parents have the right to opt their kids out of LGBTQ-related content in the same way that right now they can be removed from sex ed and health curriculum classes.
Look, I believe that parents have the right to oversee their children's education. I would push in LGBTQ education into our schools. Parents have a right to opt out of a lot of things, but this is not an area where they should be opting out, because this is an area of understanding the background of people throughout our nation. And right now we see, for example, at the Naval Academy, an erasure of history.
So what she just said there was, oh, no. We're going to have an LGBTQ agenda shoved into our schools, and parents will not be able to opt out of that. They will be forced, their children will be forced to read sexually explicit material. Their children will be forced to get taught, even at first, second, third grade, about trans and trans stuff. This is stuff they have no concept of, and should not even be introduced to at those ages. This is Cheryl's plan. She is going to shove LGBTQ down people's throats. They will not be able to opt out. There will be no school choice. She will continue her insider trading corruption. She'll use this. She tripled her net worth as in Congress. She'll probably quintuple it as governor, because it'll just be another giant grift. This is the dichotomy. This is the distinction that Chitterelli has set up between himself and Cheryl. And it is a winning formula. The question is, can he garner enough of the votes in New Jersey. Right now, the parties, when you look at the polls, the parties are breaking along party lines 90-10, 92-8, you name it, for both of them. So Cheryl's getting 92% plus of the Democrat vote. Chitterelli's getting 92% plus of the Republican vote. But right now, Chitterelli is winning independents by 13 points. If he can swing that to 15 or 16 points, he's got a serious shot of making this happen. And one of the people that's going to help deliver it, if it does happen, is Scott Presler. Let's check in with Scott Presler as he talks about this New Jersey race because it is close.
From what we're seeing on the ground, this is a state that went double digits for Joe Biden and went within 5 percentage points for President Donald Trump. And in Passaic County, we are seeing the beautiful Hispanic community come over to the Republican Party in a way that we haven't seen before. We are courting minority communities, and that's why Mikey cheating scandal Cheryl is so scared. All right, let's be real. Lockdown Phil Murphy is a reason why so many people are now joining the Republican Party. And I have a message for the viewer at home. If you want to ban offshore wind, vote Jack Ciattarelli. If you want to bring down property taxes, vote Jack Ciattarelli. If you want to bring down electricity prices, vote Jack Ciattarelli. If you want school choice, vote Jack Ciattarelli. This is your candidate. We are no longer going to bow down to the Democrats in Trenton. And this is time for the people in New Jersey to take back your state, and I ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 for Jack Ciattarelli for governor. I'm not going to go into hypothetical. I'm going to go into 2021 was decided by 84,000 votes. 600,000 Republicans stayed home. 250,000 New Jersey gun owners are not registered to vote. You go to nj.gov. The last day to register to vote is on October 14th, Charlie Kirk's birthday. Honor Charlie Kirk by registering to vote, nj.gov. You make a plan to vote on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Game on.
And this is Scott Presler. This is the same guy who is essentially single-handedly with his organization flipped Pennsylvania from a million vote advantage for the Democrats in terms of voter registrations. The Democrats were plus 1 million. He has now flipped it. They are within 52,000 voter registrations of being completely equal, of the Republicans actually having a voter registration advantage. He's doing something similar in New Jersey. He has been in New Jersey working overtime. They were able to bring down the margin of victory in New Jersey between Biden, between 2020 and 2024 by 5 to 6 points. A 5 to 6 point swing. Now they're talking about this governor's race where there is an extremely dislikable candidate in Mikey Cheryl. Insider trading, corruption, Mikey Cheryl. LGBTQ down your throat, Mikey Cheryl. No school choice, Mikey Cheryl. There is a clear distinction, and New Jersey has an opportunity to send a message to the rest of America that the entire country is red shifting. And this would be a fantastic win. So kudos to Scott Presler. Let us know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks for being here. Remember that God is good and he is sovereign. It'll always be good in the end. If it's not yet good, it's not yet the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Hope you have a fantastic Thursday.